Hello. On today's episode, we discuss the anti-ICE protesters sentenced to decades in prison, the devastating earthquakes in Venezuela, the New York City primaries, and the most recent Supreme Court rulings. Hi, hello, welcome back to Even More News, the first and only news podcast. My name's Katy Stoll.
Holy cow! Hi, Katy. Surely there should be more podcasts than one, but there aren't. I'm Cody Johnston. How are you today?
Good. We're all very good because we have an outstanding guest, a return guest, comedian, author, co-host of the Bechdel Cast, and producer of the We the Unhoused podcast. It's Jamie Loftus.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me. Great to be back talking about the news. Gonna get that hit of serotonin talking about the news.
Gotta get those endorphins buzzing.
Good.
Yeah, I think we all could use a little happy conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're glad to have you here to talk about the news. And
Thrilled.
before anybody freaks out,
What? I'm already freaked out.
calm down,
I can't.
What's happening?
because Jonathan's also here.
Oh, thank God.
Hi.
Honestly, thank God.
Yeah.
Jonathan's got a day off coming up and we're already like sweating.
Did you all want good news for today, though? I overheard that while I was sitting here a minute ago that you wanted uplifting, good, happy news.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think we're going to provide that.
I've got to say, I've heard the first good thing in a while this morning, which is that the new Minions movies are getting really good reviews. A high for the franchise, they're saying. A high for
the franchise.
Not just the
Yes.
Minions, but the Despicable Me verse, they're
All of it.
saying.
Really? The
All
whole
of it.
thing?
Okay, Jonathan, you're also watching the trades for the
Jonathan's-
Minions reviews. Yes, a high for the entire franchise, and that it's the closest a Minions film has come to being touristic.
So is this an Oscar contender?
Let's hope so. I mean, Despicable Me 2 was nominated for an Oscar.
Was it really? Oh.
Yeah, it was. Just
Despicable
two.
Me's are like movies with stories and what have you. The Minions movies are not. The
How
Minions
could they
movies
be?
thus far have been a
Yes.
series of sketches of a banana, ukulakatiki, that kind of
They're
that kind of
kind
business.
of our Marx Brothers. They're our contemporary Marx Brothers. There's a new minion called Dick in this one. I'm thrilled. I can't wait.
I am feeling the vibes from this good news.
Yeah, I'm here to
I
have the
appreciate
wind
you
taken
sharing
out
that.
of my sails.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Don't worry.
The log line for it is like it's like they're doing Singing in the Rain. Is that
They
correct?
are, and George Lucas has a cameo.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a fan.
Is he
As
as
well.
himself? He's like,
not as a minion.
It's a period piece in the 1920s. It sounds like I'm being paid to say this, but I just am very excited to see it.
The Minions are trying to make a monster movie amid the transition from silent film to sound, I believe.
It's
I think
true.
they're doing
Oh.
Singing in the
that's
Rain
what it
with
seems
monsters.
like. Yeah.
Okay, well, this
yeah.
sounds really interesting, actually.
I hope it's like 73 minutes. Like, let's do this.
Oh, I
thing.
would love for it to be blissfully short.
The new Minions is exactly 90 minutes.
I can do that.
Okay.
And
one
I
hour,
do
one
that.
hour
That's a good-
30.
And they have long credits. It's gonna be. It's
Oh,
gonna be
yeah. Oh,
80
yeah.
and 82.
When
in
does it
and,
come
in and
out?
out, you feel good.
July 1st.
July 1st.
Oh, so soon.
A Wednesday
soon.
release for the long weekend.
So
Oh.
soon.
Well, I know what both of you guys will be doing that week.
It's true.
So I hate to put a damper on this very fun, good vibe conversation, but we do have some news to get to. There's a lot today, but we're going to lead off with something that I personally feel is not getting enough attention. The sentencing that came down this week for the anti-ICE protesters that have been sentenced to extraordinary charges of terrorism. So, Jonathan, why don't you set this up for us?
Yeah. So last July 4th, a group of people went to protest outside an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. At that event, And there's some disputes as to what exactly happened. But from what we know, a police officer pointed his gun at an unarmed protester, and a U.S. Marine reservist named Benjamin Song, who goes by Champagne, who was part of it, fired their own weapon at the officer, hitting him in the shoulder. That person got arrested, and that person was just sentenced to 100 years in prison. And we can debate the merits of that if the shooting was warranted. That's like one entire issue.
Part of it, yeah.
And then the other issue is that a group of people who were also there and did things ranging from setting off fireworks to slashing tires to not even being there and distributing left-wing zines were also sentenced for 30 years, 50 years, 70 years, and they were able to do this because the administration considers Antifa to be a terrorist organization, so they were able to charge and try all these people as part of a violent conspiracy linked to this shooting.
This one shooting, yeah.
Even though they had nothing to do with it, and again, one person wasn't even there.
30 to 70 years is like really, really disgusting.
I totally agree that I've been kind of shocked at how little this has been discussed, even in leftist circles. Like there is a lot going on, but it is truly stunning. If you've ever been involved in protest work or organizing at any level, this should be absolutely terrifying, because it's like we've arrived at the level of thought crimes, essentially, where this was not an action done. It was just ideas. It was anarchist zines. How many people do we know that just make and distribute anarchist zines? Like it's been such an important part of like the entire history of resistance.
Not just modern either,
No, like the
in the history
Federalist
of
Papers were
America.
zines,
Yeah, like
arguably.
this is inherently American,
I've really gotten a lot out of, and would encourage everyone to check out Lex McMenamin's reporting on this specifically. Like they've done really, really great work around tracing that, not just this case, but yeah, the history of, like, we've called them zines for the last however long, but it is just leftist ideas and just ideas distributed by people to people that is sort of on trial here and not being talked about. And it feels so in conversation with how heavily censored the internet is.
The DOJ, by the way, called them insurrectionary materials.
We've covered this for years, of all these like little bills throughout the nation being introduced to do exactly what this is. Slowly categorize anything like left wing as being terrorism. Making sure that there are, these situations where, like, if you attend a protest or if you organize a protest where something goes wrong, then you're held accountable for whatever happens there, and just sort of tying anybody to anything at these protests and labeling them, anybody there, terrorists, so that they can kind of go after whomever and stop them from being interested in going to these events at all. It's just, I mean, obviously this is material, like they're using the law against these people, but also there's the chilling effect that they're going for, is to
100%.
just sort of stop protesting is what they want to do.
And, Champagne did fire a weapon at a police officer. I will be honest, when I first heard of this story, I thought that they had killed them, but they didn't. They did fire their weapon, and that can be its own conversation. And I believe even they put out a statement clarifying that, this is a Marine reservist, and they made it clear that this had nothing to do with the other people that were in attendance of this protest. So there's that. Even in that, this person was not murdered, and Champagne was sentenced to 100 years. 100 years. That is extraordinary. But let's just put that one sentencing aside. The rest of these people, some of them didn't even know each other. This isn't some organized network of terrorists. These were people protesting injustice. And as was established already, the person that was distributing zines wasn't even there. And you're right, it is intended to have a chilling effect on all of us. And I'm not going to sit here and say that you should be afraid, but maybe you should. I mean, I don't want to contribute to the chilling effect. It's very important that we are able to use our voices and continue to use our voices. But I don't know how we can process this news without feeling afraid. Each and every one of us, even those of us sitting here, not even at a protest, sitting here talking about it. It is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, that's the intent. And they obviously can't do this to everybody, right? It helps that they're able to say, well, with this is connected to this violent event, put aside even the argument of like, well, I saw this cop going to shoot someone and I was trying to save a life. Like, right, put all that aside. They can say, oh, we're tying this to this violent act and therefore these are all violent terrorists. They can't do it to everybody, but of course the chilling effect is there. They want you to be afraid to protest because they want, even suburban moms who might go out to a No Kings event to think in the back of their minds, the wrong place at the wrong time, and I'm going to jail for 50 years for just being there. That's what they want. I mean, that's what Stephen Miller has been gloating about, is happy about this week.
Yeah, that's how they describe it too. They're trying to, label anybody at these places, or like you said, setting off fireworks or some graffiti. That is in the same category to them as like violent terrorism. Rashida Tlaib is actually mentioning it. There are people sort of bringing this up and calling the sentence a travesty. And obviously the NSPM-7, which we've mentioned before on this show, is involved, is related to it. And then Stephen Miller claims that the member of Congress is defending Antifa terrorists who tried to massacre state and federal law enforcement. I don't think that's what happened. That's not the series of events. That's literally just not what happened.
It was like, we're going to set off fireworks to do noise as solidarity with the people in there.
Tried to massacre state and federal law enforcement. That's absurd.
And police regularly arrest people who do stuff like that at protests, and then they get released the next morning. Like, right? This is like a whole thing.
30 years.
It really does feel like it in the most terrifying, like life-destroying ways. They're trying to make an example of protesters, like you're saying, Jonathan, to scare people. Because I think back to 5 or 6 years ago, at the first wave of George Floyd protests and Breonna Taylor protests. I mean, I got arrested. Everyone I knew got arrested at these protests, and they were terrifying. But there was that sort of momentum, and it feels like half a decade later, this is at least an attempt to put a nail in the coffin of the organizing that period, I think, was so effective in building. Not to say that it wasn't happening before, but I mean, how many people started to organize and coalition build around that time, and many continued. I mean, it's reading specifically about the SCOTUS. I mean, they were members of the Emma Goldman book. They also anecdotally sound like extremely fucking cool people. They were a part of the Emma Goldman book club. When the FBI raided their home, they found boxes of zines and poetry. I think it is a very chilling moment of like, these are people that we could so easily know and be in community with, and doing, stuff that does not, to my mind, feel particularly radical. Like, it's effective and it's really good work, but it's not what I associate with like radical political acts. They have an ACAB flag. I have an ACAB flag. It feels like they're being made an example of, the way that so many people tend to be during moments like this.
Two things I want to say about that. One, one of the judges said that's what they were doing. Judge Reed O'Connor, who many people have speculated is trying to try out for a spot on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, good luck, buddy. All right.
And Judge O'Connor said that he's doing the maximum sentences to the Prairie Land defendants because, quote, the state wants to send a message to anyone who shares a similar ideology.
I mean, even the whole idea of, this has been going on forever too, but it's really egregious being like, we are anti-Antifa. And you're like, okay, let's tease that out. that makes you a double negative. That makes you the fascist, which they don't really care about being labeled as anymore. But yeah, I mean, and just seeing like the through lines of how long and anti-fascism is presented as a profoundly organized movement, and that like it's being presented like all of these people did know each other, and there's all this whatever the right wing loves a big conspiratorial plan that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, all these people are actually getting together and talking about how all these like you're saying, like suburban moms getting together like, yeah, we're gonna take down the state.
Wish they would, but that's not really
But that's not what's going on. And that's what they want to we're going to send a message to anyone who shares a similar ideology. To them, it's anything. It's not just like vague Antifa. It's also like any environmentalist protest, they're going to apply this to. No kings generally, they're going to apply this to. It's just enemies of like Donald Trump generally.
The DOJ press release about these sentences, it wants to like back up its case, so they have a bunch of images of evidence, and it's just fireworks going on outside the facility, which, by the way, 3 weeks straight every night outside my house the same thing's going on. It's summer in Los Angeles. And then there's like a little guard station that has "fuck you pigs" written on the side, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, shouldn't we be seeing something worse? They have like text messages or signal chats between people. Let's say we had good intel on a time, date, target combo. What would we do about it? Block roads, slash tires, something else? And then the reply is try to confront and turn out a lot of people. My thinking is we can go out and do whatever at any time, but picking a good confrontation is about building momentum. And I guess they're trying to say do whatever at any time means whatever they want, but like the evidence that they're putting on their own website to back this up is like a little graffiti and a flashback, like a fireworks.
Again, between people who don't know each other. This wasn't a big terrorist attack. It was a protest.
I don't know that much about the timing of this, but it does feel, because this was originally a 4th of July protest, having it happen so close to this 4th of July does feel very intentional. And this is like somewhat unrelated, but I think it's just because of my proximity to hot dog culture. And I've been thinking a lot about how the 250th anniversary has been presented and framed and like all and it's like in all the expected shitty ways, but it does feel like there's like this is a moment that in a world that makes more sense to me would be galvanizing for organizers, but you're just not really seeing very much of it. And I just hope that this story and these accounts reach the right people and make them want to continue to organize in larger numbers, because that's really the only way to prevent this to continue to happen, is to keep building. Yeah. Which
is what they said in the text.
Yeah. I mean,
build
it's
momentum.
It's like I think the best one of the best ways besides continuing to fight against these sentences are like to read the materials they were distributing, because they were powerful enough for this to happen.
Yeah, Streisand effect, the pamphlets.
Let's Streisand effect the leftist zines.
Yeah, they had 2 back-to-back earthquakes yesterday. One was a 7.2 and the other was a 7.5. I don't know what is the death toll is officially at 164 right now, but that's just within 24 hours, so we can expect that to go up much higher.
It's 188 now, and I've seen estimates that it's going to be in the tens of thousands. Once.
It's
yeah,
horrific.
It's a really devastating disaster, no matter which way you're looking at it. And of course, we're now seeing it through the lens of, we just did war stuff in Venezuela, and we recently cut a bunch of aid that would normally be sending either search and rescue or other recovery efforts there. And the question I've had, today, since it had been, 12 to 18 hours since these earthquakes happened, is, are we able to do what we once would? And I don't think we really know the answer to that yet. I found one quote from a international public policy expert at Northeastern University who said, in the past, there was a highly skilled, high-capacity system that would have responded immediately. Now it's going to be much more ad hoc. That assistance is no longer systematized or built into a regular process. So not to immediately be like, we're making this worse because it's this horrendous disaster and people are trying to find their families, and the video from this area is just completely devastating with buildings leveled. And then, of course, your immediate thought, or my immediate thought, was like, how has this country made it worse in the last year and a half?
Yeah, it's at the whim of whoever, like Marco Rubio, or like if Trump is like, yeah, okay, we'll do something about it. Like, it's not, like that quote said, it's just not something that we do now. We've aside from, like, in addition to our absurd aggression towards many nations over the past including Venezuela, aside for, like, remove that from the equation, it's still, we don't help people anymore. We don't like doing that. We don't like giving aid. We don't want to,
even though there was one specific day where he declared himself president of Venezuela. There was that one day, but
if the disaster was in parts of South Africa, maybe, but not.
I mean, I want to say that for Marco Rubio's part, he has said that we've just deployed search and rescue teams, and that down the road we'll make a determination about financial aid. I don't know if he feels any kind of responsibility for the place now, or if Trump does, or if they can convince Trump that he should, but that's where we're at.
I think Marco Rubio has been stripped of any sort of emotion, and he's just sort of like on this bizarre zombie autopilot and just sort of like, yeah, just get through it. Maybe I'll be a president. Maybe just like get through it.
I hadn't seen a picture of him in a while, and there's a real Husk-like energy to him these days.
He's really depleted inside.
Yes.
His insides are eating themselves alive in suppressed shame of some sort, maybe.
Yeah.
Of course, this horrific tragedy happened this week alongside a conversation that is making its way online about how Doge and Elon Musk's governance of Doge, we're seeing the reality of those cuts and what happens when we just pull the wool out from underneath, the rugs out from underneath people's feet.
Yeah, it's really frustrating because there's so many ways that those cuts have caused problems. We discuss maybe one of them every week or two, every couple of weeks. Obviously, we've talked about screw and various pandemics and all the things that have been cut and all of the possibilities that have been removed because of all the research that has been canceled and things that we could be learning about the world. He's fundamentally an incurious, narcissistic weirdo, so he doesn't care about that stuff. But then there are these like concrete examples of like, well, we were helping keep these people alive, and now we're not doing that anymore. You are literally like, you just decided to remove a Keep People Alive fund, and you're seeing the effects of that. And he's obviously going to not agree with that despite evidence, and he's going to lash out, and he's going to call everybody a woke mind virus zombie whatever, and he's going to say all kinds of lies. He's demanding to know the names of everybody, in addition to all the other freaks who are like, just tell me their names. If there's like all these people, surely you know the names. We actually do know some people's names.
In the articles that have been written about this.
In the articles that have been written about this, there are like examples of like these stories of people who did depend on this aid and now don't have it, and people are dead. And he could look that up. He could ask Grok to show him, but he cannot contend with reality, which is why he bought the website to form his own reality around him. And he is constantly living in his little simulacrum online where he protects himself and his ego and his money. And it's really just disgusting. I think it's interesting that he has this sort of view like, well, that's not going to like kill people. I just did this. I moved this around. I'm doing this money. He'll constantly talk about like the evils of like communism and like, well, there this famine and these people died and this and this and this. And when you drill down, it's like, well, these are like policy decisions that have like caused all these deaths, but he can't like connect it like, well, the decisions that you've made are also going to have these effects after the fact. But he's just himself.
Well, it's like with that lens, it's so tragic and frustrating to feel fairly sure that the U.S. is not going to send a meaningful amount of aid to Venezuela in the wake of this tragedy. And then you see it alongside a story like this where it's like, well, of course the U.S. isn't going to send aid. They don't even care about the children that live in the U.S. And this is, one of myriad examples of why that is. But the like resistance to even acknowledge that, being a part of making policy, it doesn't matter what your political ideology is. If your policy is killing people, your policy is killing people. But
he's defending himself, saying there's been 0 deaths as a result of what he did. That's obviously
that's
not
an
true.
absurd claim.
That's an
absurd claim.
The study that came up this week, this was a study from July of last year, and it's like used models of like, okay, here's the number of people who were being kept alive per year. And so without the funding, they just used statistical analysis to estimate. And so they said 14 million potential additional deaths by 2030, including 4.5 million deaths among children younger than 5. And then some of the other studies found that there's probably already been hundreds of thousands of deaths since this was all done a year and a half ago. But Ro Khanna was on I've Had It with just Jennifer Welch and brought up that Lancet study, the 4.5 million potential deaths among children younger than 5 by 2030.
And I do believe that once we take power, there has to be accountability. There needs to be accountability for Elon Musk. They're celebrating that he created 4,400 millionaires, but they don't talk about the 4.5 million children around the world who he possibly sentenced to death by dismantling USAID. He needs to answer for that. He needs to be subpoenaed. He needs to face investigation. He needs to answer for what he did with Doge. That it's not just let's move on.
This, for whatever reason, people have been talking about this for months, and that clip he must have seen on his thing, right, on the website he owns. I don't know how it got through the algorithm into his feed.
So that's why this is making the rounds right now.
And speaking about Streisanding affecting it, he's doing it big time this week.
But also, I think part of it is also he's previously like complimented Ro Khanna and like been like, oh, I like him because of this or whatever. And in his world and in this just world now, it's like if you have one, if I complimented you, you're not allowed to say anything bad about me, actually. You're not allowed to bring these things up. And I think probably there's a little bit of him like, fuck this guy.
There's definitely a little bit. Now he's calling him a Soros puppet.
Yeah, he's a Soros puppet.
Going to the hits, a Soros puppet.
A disagreement is treason, I believe, is the tenet of fascism.
I didn't know Soros funded that study. Well, no wonder it's so bogus. It's because George Soros created that study.
But wait,
it's so lazy?
If you're a Soros puppet, if you cite a study that his foundation contributed to, does that mean you're a Musk puppet if you get money from his many companies in any way? Like if a billionaire pays for a thing and then you benefit from that thing?
It's a puppet Ouroboros.
Musk is about freedom from the woke mind virus, Jonathan. That doesn't count. He's a fraud, you see?
It is interesting that X is so horrible that even Elon's own algorithm can get him, that they're like, well, maybe this will elicit a strong emotional response in the user.
Yes.
So in some ways, the product is working as intended.
100%. Yeah.
I have a funny example of Grok also being clearly manipulated to just parrot what Elon wants. Someone was, asking it about birthright citizenship and stuff, and Grok refused to give an argument that birthright citizenship is the law of the land because of the plain text of the 14th Amendment. And they wrote at Grok, so are you permitted under any set of facts or law to conclude that the children of illegal immigrants are citizens? And Grok says, no. The 14th Amendment's text and 1866 debates require complete jurisdiction and allegiance for birthright citizenship. So it's been programmed to just be like, nah, that's not a thing.
That's sneaky too. That's not like, that there's that period where it would just, Grok would just bring up like white genocide.
Oh, sure.
And that's like they've like slowly realized like, well, we can't be too obvious about it. We need to like sneak some stuff
This
in. We
is
don't
pretty
wanna-
obvious.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that is an example of like, well, they're
Yeah.
still doing it.
To respond to the question, are you permitted to say this? And he's like, nah, can't do it.
Right. Yeah. It's just like finding the right phrasing.
They don't let me say the truth anymore.
Grok truly is the most annoying of them all.
The lies and the intentional lies and the forced misinformation and the constraints that specifically Elon Musk has put on it, but also like the syntax and just like the way like it's so obnoxious.
The way it responds to everything. And it's like, who's this person? This smoke show is blah, blah,
Buckle
blah,
up,
and it's
chuckle
all totally
fuck.
wrong.
Which God,
Like,
shut
oh my
up.
Does it
God.
say buckle up, chuckle fuck?
No, but it might as well. That's all I read when I read its responses.
I'd look for it, but the search function on this website sucks.
Oh, it's the worst search function that any website has ever had in the history of the internet. Actually,
been
it is
on
the
it in
worst
a
search.
long time.
It don't do
Don't.
it.
It's like
we
I
do
have
it
no
for
plans
this.
to
but-
return. That is so. I do wonder at some point. It's like if you use a trigger phrase for Grok, if it'll just go like Furby mode and be like, I'm tired, and then just stop responding. I'm going to bed.
Well, it's got its stock answer now because you can only use Grok and tag Grok if you have a blue check now. You used to not be able to. You used to like anybody could, but now if you tag people, it's like, sorry, you need to have subscribe to Twitter Blue or X Blue or Premium. I don't know what the fuck they call it anymore.
Cody, did you get the email? You've got early access to X Money. I don't know why they tried to get me. I'm not a power user. I don't really use it. I require the website to find the tweets that the GOP senators say for this thing.
X money. No, I didn't get that. That does sound like a phishing email.
Yeah, I mean, it is, even if it's legitimate.
Do we want to mention that Roe challenged Elon to a debate?
That was Ro Khanna's response.
It's pretty silly.
Oh God! Now talk about a throwback. Debate me, bro. Wow.
Just to mention it, because he also because the assertion is like, well, yeah, he should be like sued and like he should be in prison and like we gotta get this guy like legally, but then he's like, debate me. I don't think that's gonna do anything.
I think he'd rather have you thrown in prison, yeah.
Elon does need to agree to debate somebody. He would be so bad at it. He's the least like articulate and charismatic person you can imagine. I want to see Elon in a Surrounded episode.
He ended up inadvertently in a debate with Katy Miller on her podcast when she was like, what would you do if you needed to make money again? And he's like, that would be impossible for me to have no money. Like,
That wasn't a debate.
I literally
She's
couldn't
just
think of
like
anything.
giggling, like, okay, whatever you say. But yeah, he was incapable of the idea of imagining something. Like, just imagine you don't have your money. How would you make your money? Well, I wouldn't never have no money.
That is such a softball question to not be able to answer. Like,
Work hard, save money. Like I'd eat ramen for a few weeks. Like what? Say something, man. Like God.
that is really like 2 steps away from like, what are your 4 favorite movies? Like, come on.
It's like seriously.
Southland Tales, Fight Club.
He wouldn't even say Fight Club. He'd say Boondock Saints.
It does show how broken his brain is. No imagination, to just be able to, no empathy, not having the ability to have empathy or put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and just fundamentally not being able to conceptualize him not having money because he's always had money.
But his like outward facing like persona, his whole story is that like his claim is that he didn't have money. His claim is that he had like, I had like $100 and I was all by myself and I had only a backpack when I came here and like I built. So just like tell that story. Just describe what you did then, but in this new hypothetical scenario. But he couldn't even do that because it's made up. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Debate Ro Khanna, Elon. It'll be great. You'll do a great job.
One clarifying thing, this was an update as we were talking. The State Department says it is providing $150 million to Venezuela disaster response, $50 million to humanitarian groups working on the ground, and $100 million to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Let's hope they do that. And Elon matches it.
He'll like suggest like, well, I can build like a special tube to save all the earthquake people, and then he'll like call people on the ground pedophiles, and then he'll call it a day, and that'll be that.
Shall we move on to another topic?
Tuesday night, some elections, a big night for the left in New York City. 3 candidates endorsed by Zoran Mamdani won their primary campaigns against more moderate candidates. So now it's not just the right having a fit about it, but the Democrats are having a fit about it as well.
Everybody can join in.
Yay.
So Democratic Socialist Daria Liza Avila Chevalier defeated 5-term incumbent and chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Adriano Espaillat, in New York's 13th district. Brad Lander, we remember him, defeated Dan Goldman by more than 30 points in New York's 10th. That's pretty notable because that is one of the most Jewish districts in the nation. And one of the primary differences between Dan Goldman and Brad Lander is Lander has been willing to say that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza, even though he also describes himself as a liberal Zionist.
Yeah.
And then finally...
And he's very friendly. He's a real glad-hander. Sorry,
looks
go
like
ahead.
Tim Robinson. We all like it. And then Claire Valdez, another Democratic Socialist, defeated Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, who had been endorsed by the retiring incumbent. And so there have been some freakouts all over the place.
First off, I'm glad that this has a lot of attention. We should be paying attention to these wins. This is the Democratic Party should be paying attention, and we'll get into more of how they've responded to it. But it does shock me that this has gotten way more coverage than terrorist charges brought against protesters because. But the reason it's shocking is because people are spending so much time clutching their pearls about the danger the Democratic Party is in, or as who is it? Jamie Harrison posted on Twitter, if you hate the Democratic Party, then please don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers. Don't use our infrastructure. Don't ask Democrats to invest their time, money, and energy in your campaign. This election feels more alarming to Jamie Harrison than the terrorist charges. Just need to point that out.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it's this weird uniting of like, if you hate the Democratic Party, then again, we can't be that. If you have criticism of the Democratic Party, you can't be a part of this. And then also you have people on the right being like, if you hate America, you should be removed.
Right.
Like not even like mincing words. They're just like, yeah, if you hate America, you got to get out of here. It's like, that's not how it works, actually. That's just not how it works.
All of the Democratic party response feels very like, well, if you want to be a part of the loser club, you got to lose.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you.
We're actually extremely unpopular, and it really bothers us that you're popular, so you can't be a part of this club.
Of course you're not a part of the Democratic Party. It seems like people like you and find you to be at least marginally credible. It's, yeah, whatever. Counterproductive bullshit, of course.
And, big tent, let's all come together. Let's all like get a party that, in addition to rejecting Trump and Trumpism and fighting against that front, is also working on a vision for the future that they can all get behind and move forward with together and bring everybody in this positive vision of the future. That would be cool.
They are so freaked out by it.
Yeah.
They're so freaked out by it.
Well, they're terrified that, all these progressives will get into power and then they won't be able to put in place any of their pie in the sky ideas, and there will be a huge backlash to them, and then we'll lose. We'd rather just get in there and not do much and then lose. That feels like way safer than to try to use political capital to do stuff.
Continue to refuse to learn any lessons from the past 10 years, from longer, but especially the past 10 years. Continue to refuse to hear what people desperately need. Most people in this country do not see themselves reflected in either party because they're not talking about Yeah, they're not. They might talk about cost of living, but they don't do anything about it. They miss the point over and over and over again. If you really, really want to win elections and actually serve your constituents, you would be listening to the people who are so jaded by our political system. You would be saying, what can I do to make your life better? And that is not in their calculation. We all know why. There's a million reasons. They don't want things to change. And just the bullshit excuses, the bullshit things that they tried to spin this into. Meghan McCain, to my beautiful Jewish friends in America, we love you. You are not alone. We are just as freaked out as you are and see with clear eyes exactly what is happening. What do you see? You see people standing up and saying no to genocide? That's what you see?
Or even just acknowledging genocide.
Well, because otherwise you'd have to agree that most of these races were about things like the reasons people vote, affordability, which is a Democrat hoax, right? Like you have to frame it as if suddenly not just the billionaires anymore, but now Jews are under threat in like the most Jewish city outside of Israel, right? Like in New York, there's contingents of Orthodox Jews and conservative Jews, and of course secular Jews who make up a huge part of the voting population. And people don't really make that distinction. And I don't think Meghan McCain makes the distinction of who she thinks is under threat and from what. Are Jews under threat from the secular Jews who are doing the voting?
I know who she thinks we're under threat from. Everybody's under threat from. It's the Muslim mayor.
Yes,
The
the Muslim
Muslim
mayor.
It's
Who
the mayor. It's all
wildly popular and successful in a short period of time. Shocking. We no longer can pretend that it requires years of bureaucracy and waiting and all the excuses that were given for why changes never happen. It's New York City. And he's doing astounding things in a short period of time. Not to say that he's not going to get show stopped here or there. He's at the beginning of his tenure there. But yeah, no, they still want to continue saying that this will be the downfall of New York City. Ari Fleischer, free advice for New Yorkers: get out while you still can. The rise of socialists in New York City will threaten everyone. Mom Donnie's power will increase. Socialists will gain more seats, and they're coming next for you.
I love
wild.
they always do this, like the socialists and the radical Islamists are gonna like come together and figure out what they're gonna do together, and we need to fear both of them, and they're all this one guy. It's just
But Donald Trump somehow seems to have learned the new. Did you guys see the clip of him?
Oh, he loves him. He
nuance
loves that guy.
between socialism and communists. They're not communists. They're socialists. Isn't it different? Mom Donnie, that's a cute guy. He's handsome. He's likable,
Oh, it's so
charming.
funny.
I mean, anecdotally, it seems like people in New York are having the time of their lives.
I'm
does.
so
Seems
jealous.
like a fucking party all the time.
Really
Meanwhile, we've
does.
just barely managed to bonk Spencer Pratt on the head. Just miserable.
We had to cheat, and we waited until the last second to do it, really. And so it really, by the skin of our teeth, yeah, we not enough time to do it for the whole state, unfortunately. You just had to, yeah, we don't get to have the same kind of fun here.
Yeah, leftists on my feed saying, please vote for a billionaire for governor. He's the best.
My God, I
option." You're
know.
like,
It's
no.
grim out
You need to go.
here.
No.
Billionaire.
The beach
Yeah.
is
He was
pretty.
the best option. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I really just feel very discouraged today, not by these results, but by the conversations online. Some of these establishment people, some of these centrists, the people, they would much rather spew this bullshit than talk about all of the vitally important things happening. And again, terrorist charges for people being at a protest. That is so much more important and needs to be out. Everybody needs to know about it versus their opinions about, a socialist winning a House seat.
Yeah, there's an authoritarian crackdown on free speech and protesting generally, and a very, very blatant attack against like nominally left people, anybody. Stephen Miller's out there saying that they're trying to like kill federal and state officers. That's maybe a problem. I did want to highlight, just bringing up all the Trump things, and this I one more tweet. This tweet from one Ben Shapiro I thought is pretty funny, and it goes like this. Last night, a bunch of candidates who literally despise America won in NYC. Establishment Dems who live in fear of their radicalized base will cave to them. By 2028, people who hate the country and wish to destroy it could be in charge. Ben, an establishment party, like establishment party members, live in fear of their radicalized base. What's that like? How do you know about that? What are you talking about? Just like I just love whenever he's like, they're letting the radicals take over their party. Meanwhile, like Donald Trump is just like slowly eroding the country. You can watch any, and I don't want to use this as like evidence, but like any Surrounded episode with like MAGA people, they abhor the ideas of like democracy and what this country is founded on. They really, really, really reject like the actual values, and they frame it like, well, this is real America, and it's just like very absurd to try to turn it around, but that's what they do. It's fine.
Shall we talk about some SCOTUS rulings real quick? Because they're sure jamming them in at the end of the session here, aren't they?
I'll run through them, and then on their next day is Monday. So on Monday morning when we show up to record, there will be the new things. It's really messed up the way they do this. There's not a very transparent system. You just kind of are like, oh, this week on this day, we'll come down from on high, and who knows what we'll say? Who knows what the new edicts will be? But anyway, today, there were a few interesting opinions. Mullen v. Al Otro Lado, in a 6-3 opinion, the court says the Trump administration can prevent migrants from applying to asylum by physically barring them from entering the United States. They played with the word arrive because the law says that migrants can apply for asylum after they arrive in the United States. But if you're just stopped at the border and you don't get into the country on U.S. soil, you have not arrived, you see.
You've arrived outside of the United States. You haven't arrived in the United States.
So if you were meeting your friend at the movies or something and you get to the Grove parking lot and then you text them, I've arrived at the Grove. No, you liar. You haven't arrived.
You can't
You're
do
not
it.
Leave
there
it to the Supreme
yet.
Court to get the most boring semantic way to harm others.
That's their job. It's really like, this is like really, really disgusting. It functionally removes asylum like from existing. Like there's no, like, if you have to be in the country, then all they have to do is just no.
Well,
And
unless you
can't, like,
sneak in, it seems like this encourages
they're
people
encouraging people
to
exactly.
sneak in.
Otherwise, like, okay, I'm at the border, I need asylum. Well, you can't ask for that, actually, because you're on the other side of the line. Bye. Like, it really is, like, just, like, thinking about even what, like, a request for asylum means. Removing that ability is really, really disgusting and anti-human.
Aren't we trying to encourage people to come here legally? Aren't we trying to make it easier for people to do the right process without needing to cross into the country illegally in order to try and claim asylum? This makes absolutely no sense.
Unless you want to whiten the nation. Unless you're trying to whiten everything and create some sort of bizarre ethno-state and keep everybody out because you're xenophobic and racist, and I don't know.
It's just like, it's the layers of words and words and words, which I know is just sort of part and parcel to this, but just to make it a complete impossibility, and just eradicating the like whatever the quote unquote right way that is adjusted every couple of months. Like, unless I'm misunderstanding something, like under this decision, they have made that there is absolutely no right way to claim asylum.
It's illegal. It would be illegal to request asylum because they would have to enter the nation illegally.
And so if you cross the line and ask for asylum, sorry, you are trespassing on the nation. Like,
and it's just like you're being chased by like a murderer. And you like are pounding on like the door of the police station. And you're like, please let me inside. I need help. And they're like, can't hear you.
You might be a vampire.
You gotta come inside in order to ask us for help, and you can't come inside because the door's locked. And I don't know.
It's the same way with the entire system. People always say, well, we want people to come here, but we just want them to do it the right way. And unless you're like Elon Musk or something, like there really are very few right ways to do it anymore. Like you can't, like if someone doesn't have like a job or something, like you can't, you're not allowed.
But yeah, it's really nasty work.
And so speaking of making the country whiter, that brings us to Mullen v. Doe. The court ruled 6-3, you know who, that administration decisions on ending temporary protected status are beyond judicial review. We can't look at it. We'd love to help, but also here's why we wouldn't help. And then, so there's part one, which is like, we can't review that. Sorry, we're powerless. Why'd you come to us? Whatever. And then the second part of it is they were saying, well, you can't end temporary protected status for all these 300,000 Haitian people because you're doing it based on race. As we all know, the president is a racist and doesn't like Haitian people. And Samuel Alito wrote, none of the cited statements from the case, none of the cited statements by either the president or the secretary was overtly racial. And so, and I'm not one to be like, you go get him, clap back in your dissent. But in her dissent, Elena Kagan pointed out some of the things that the president said, like they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, Haiti's a shithole country, they're poisoning the blood, they probably have AIDS, and why do we only take people from shithole countries? Why can't we have people come from Norway and Sweden?
Obviously, everything you just said, it's racist. It's racist. But I like, he was like, well, anybody can eat cats and dogs. Like they didn't say they're eating it because of their race. So it's like that Weasley thing. But saying that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country is racist. Like you're bringing blood into the picture. What are you talking about? Of course that's fucking racist.
This issue in particular really gets me so fucking angry. My mom is a second grade teacher, or was until very recently, with she has I think 10 to 15 students in her classroom were Haitian, and had to, when those comments first came out, had to like talk to her students about it, which just like breaks my heart.
That's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Well, and to know that this is going that this is just on a negative trajectory, and that these kids' families and them directly are still under direct attack from their own government. It's things that we know, but I go back to thinking of just, I don't know, like teachers having to figure out, how do I talk to my students about this? Like, how do you, where do you even begin?
When the president is saying these things,
is it
and
DEI
everyone around
to tell
him,
them that they're not garbage because they're Somali?
They're not poisoning the
Sure.
blood of our nation by being here.
And are you putting your own livelihood at risk by attempting to have the conversation? Like it's
then you're on the NPSM whatever.
Yeah, and all the noise around him
NPSM.
is saying, well, either don't worry, the libs are really mad about this, which means that it's good and he should keep saying it, or they're saying the base loves this stuff. Like they love when you say the shithole stuff. So he's just constantly encouraged to make it worse and target more people and target them more aggressively.
Yeah, Alito, he did not try very hard in this one, and
He doesn't have to.
doesn't
He
have
doesn't
to.
need to. What's the point of trying?
Why bother? Yeah.
And do you want me to talk about Monsanto?
Not really, but yeah, like I'm incensed about all of it.
Yeah, and because there will be more in the next week. And this one was a 7-2 ruling, with the dissenters being Ketanji Brown Jackson and Neil Gorsuch, interestingly. This one's kind of technical. It's weird. The court ruled that a federal law called FIFRA gives the EPA the right to require certain labels on pesticides. So a man in Missouri couldn't sue Monsanto, alleging that their product Roundup was mislabeled and caused his cancer because that Missouri state law is overruled by a federal law. The upshot is that this guy can't sue. No one can sue under
Nobody
state
can
laws.
sue.
Monsanto, which, Roundup, because they allege the pesticide caused cancer, you can't even bring that to a suit. And Bayer, which owns Monsanto, saw its stock jump 16% today.
I was going to say, there's the upshot. What are you talking about? Come on.
Them.
And at the end of the day, okay, so 2 people dissenting. Interestingly, Ketanji Brown Jackson and Neil Gorsuch.
Yeah, weird one.
I mean, this just speaks to me about how all of our politicians, our whole system is bought and paid for by industries. And Monsanto is a juggernaut. Bayer. This is a wild one and something that we're all going to be grappling with for the rest of our lives, probably. Is this battle, about chemicals that we knowingly spray, put on our food supply, get into our soil, into our waters, and it doesn't matter what it does to people. And they are going all in on this. This, again, a few weeks ago, months, who knows, what is time other than a flat circle? At the same time as this was being brought up, this ruling, announcements about, like, California is actively spraying Roundup in our forests right now, despite everybody protesting and pushing back and saying, please do not fill Lake Tahoe Basin with chemicals that will get into the water supply and impact wildlife. They're just doing it anyway. So we're fucked.
Well, but the real problem with our water, though, is the fluoride. So we gotta. That's the real issue.
Like in all the stories that we're talking about are connected, because if you're an environmental protester, God knows what could happen to you.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You're
if you have
terrorist.
a little pamphlet about the dangers of Roundup, well, put them in the box, put them in the bucket. Yeah.
So as Jonathan already mentioned, there are more decisions imminent. Just gonna really shove them in at the end here, I guess.
Bunch of stuff next week. I mean, they're gonna likely throw us one with birthright citizenship and be like, see, the thing is still fine. The Constitution's still there. Everyone, we do both sides.
Look, the duct tape is keeping it together.
Did you want to do a fun thing, or are we done with the show now?
I really want to talk about it real quick.
We'll show it real quick. It's kind of visual, so Cody will have to detail some of what's going on. But what we're about to show you is the trailer for the new Daily Wire movie.
Daily Wire Plus.
A sequel to so this is one of their big franchises. A sequel to the 2020 film Run, Hide, Fight. This is Run, Hide, Fight, Infidels, starring not disgraced actor Jonathan Majors.
They got Kang.
We have a terror warning in Northern Virginia.
Radical Islam has designs openly on the West.
The FBI thwarted a terror plot on New Year's Eve. Violent attack over the Halloween weekend in Michigan.
Protests on college campuses showing no signs of stopping.
So if you are listening, you heard some You heard some like cable news footage, and then you heard really scary.
What you
Muslim
heard
calls to
was
prayer.
9/11.
Yeah, so they
Like
they want you to see this movie. They're like 9/11 is going to happen. So right there. No, they cut to what is that? The ISIS flag, and then they pull back, and it's the ISIS flag in front of an American university in Virginia, and then people do Muslim prayers in the middle of the quad at the American university.
And
Cody's crying.
I can't. This is so incredible. Like, why would they do this? Like, because it also says coming soon, ... or already here.
Yeah.
This is like this is.
That's a poor promotion.
Right, like maybe did they come out already?
Just
Like,
kidding, it isn't.
But like,
maybe it
Maybe
came out
such a
last month. Maybe it's directed.
it's unavailable on most services.
The Daily Wire is getting another potential $100 million in investment from Coke-related investment firms, and they might IPO at a valuation of $2 billion. No, it's not worth that. And it is not. And they blew like $50 million on that Pendragon cycle, Rise of the Merlin.
Well, that was a great success that everybody fucking talks about, right?
Jamie, do you know about the Pendragon cycle, Rise of the Merlin?
No, that was just an absolutely unhinged collection
Yeah.
of words to me. Rise
It's
of
a
the
base-
Merlin.
Yeah.
Rise of the Merlin sounds grammatically incorrect. I'm sure you've gone through all of this before. Rise of the isn't Merlin a guy?
In fairness, it's based on a book, but they did their own Game of Thrones, King Arthur saga thing for Daily Wire. That was
For
a
$50
huge
million.
that
Okay.
bombed because no one goes to Daily Wire. They go to Daily Wire Plus to hear why they should hate trans people or whatever. They don't go to Daily Wire Plus to watch Game of Thrones.
Anecdotally, I've heard about like Daily Wire casting guys skulking around town looking for anyone willing to be in one of their
Well, don't
really
worry.
hard to
They
find-
found the disgraced abuser
Yeah,
to be in their
Jonathan
fucking
Majors.
movie.
They need to cast outside of LA. Like,
They need to stop making movies. They're a political, like, propaganda news organization. Like, what are you doing?
Is Ben the only failed screenwriter over there? Because he's not writing these movies. Are they
It's all of them. It's
failed
all of them.
screenwriters?
They're all, it's failed screenwriters or failed novelists or failed actors. It's all, like, it's top down.
I'm sure that they'll be quick to, get AI on the script
Oh,
however
God,
they can
yeah.
as well. Like,
And see, I mean, and the fact that they had this, they already did a Run, Hide, Fight movie, and I don't know why they're doing a second one. It was like that wasn't popular, and at least that was based on like, well, yeah, school shootings happen, but also,
I'm still trying to understand.
oh,
the
don't
Merlin.
you can't possibly. It's not. It's just you just have to like accept it, let it wash over you.
The rise of
It
the
doesn't make
Cody-
any
like, it
sense.
doesn't
meaning
make
to, I don't know if you have, Cody, we keep meaning to legally get these productions and watch them, but I have not seen any Rise of the Merlin, actually.
I saw a brief review of it, a little review of it. Doesn't look very good. It is available on a place that it's on websites that you can. It's on websites other than the Daily Wire Plus.
I just quickly Googled, and it gave me an AI overview, but was Run, Hide, Fight movie a success or failure? And it says, depends on how you measure it. A success
Okay,
with
Gemini.
popular with conservative audiences, but it was a massive failure with professional critics.
Yeah, not very good.
Made me laugh.
But then they do a sequel. It's just like this is such a bizarre relic. Like no one, even I feel like even most Daily Wire audiences would watch this and go like, "Is this 2002? Like what? Like what do we like? What is this? Do we need this now? Is this appealing to people?"
The super scary thing is just praying. Aren't they trying to be like Sharia law has taken over? Everyone seemed to be just walking around with their coffee, going to class. What's the problem?
I do want to read the log line and again and point out, we've mentioned this before, the star is Jonathan Majors, who was Kang in the Marvel Universe until there was a domestic violence issue that he was charged with and disgraced and stopped doing it. And so the idea is just, we've mentioned this before, they're craving like canceled people. Oh, you said something that like, oh, rub people the wrong way. You offended somebody. No, he just like beat a woman. Like that's not even like in the realm of like you're canceled. No, you did a crime. Like it's not like, oh, you said something right wing and then they canceled you. No, that's not the situation. So this is a weird, desperate casting, but I have to read the log line. When radical Islamic terrorists hijack a liberal college's pro-Palestine encampment to enforce barbaric Sharia law on students and execute infidels in a makeshift caliphate, a ragtag band of red-blooded students, a security guard tired of Uncle Tom smears, and a Delta Force vet must arm up to save their clueless peers and keep America from surrendering to the enemy on its own soil.
Right. The clueless peers are going to be held up as villains as much as the terrorists, because they're just going to be, it's going to be like Matt Walsh's characters in Lady Ballers, right? These
letting it all happen.
freaks who are like, well, if we say anything, then people will cancel it, right? Like they're going to be.
Yeah.
Their cowardly empathy.
The casualness with all three of you being like, yes, of course, Matt Walsh's role in Lady
We
Ballers.
did a thing on
In Lady Ballers from the Daily Wire.
We're familiar.
Yeah, I was
with
like, oh,
no,
so
that's
lucky.
exactly.
Right,
it's
right.
just some sort of caricature of a leftist and a caricature of the excuses people like. Well, it'll be nothing. It'll be bullshit.
Because also, it's like, and Jamie, to your point, the audience for this content is left-wing people who like stream it to rip on it and like call it a piece of garbage, which it is going to be, unless it already came out. Apparently,
It already is.
Like it's just it's
or is
maybe,
it?
like is it just a piece of shit, or is it a coming soon piece of shit? It's just fodder for people to stream. I can't believe it. I can believe it, but like, oof.
Jamie, thank you so much for joining us for this extra long podcast. Can you please tell our listeners and viewers where to find you?
Yes, you can mostly find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm Jamie Christ Superstar on Instagram, and I just search my name on Blue Sky. It shows up. I'm the producer of a wonderful podcast called We the Unhoused with Theo Henderson, who started the show in the late 2010s while unhoused in Los Angeles, and has since grown it to be, I think, a really vital, important source of information that is for the unhoused. We have interviews every single week, as well as a focus on stories that affect the unhoused specifically at a local, national, global level. It's a wonderful show.
Check it out, please.
I didn't realize it's been going on that long. Wonderful.
Check it out, Spencer.
Like and subscribe to that. Like and subscribe to this.
Yeah.
Get a
Oh,
little
yeah, what are
like
you
on
doing?
that YouTube algorithm.
Notification bell.
Get that notification bell
All
on,
that
baby.
stuff.
Or have you already done that?
Or
Or
is it
have
already?
you already? That is really something that makes you think.
We're already here. You're talking about your movie, man. Sorry.
I think we still have Lady Ballers on the Dropbox if you want to watch it, Jamie.
We do. We absolutely do. We can send it to you. You can get it.
No. Okay, have a great weekend, everybody. We love you very much.
They showed 9/11 in the trailer. Much.